How's it going, everyone? In this video, I want to tell you all how I find high probability rejects and high probability bounce areas. But before we get started, be sure to subscribe to my channel, click that thumbs up button, and click that bell icon so you do not miss out on any of my upcoming videos. First example of the day is this QQQ reject level I had. I created this pre-market. I want to kind of walk you through what I've seen, how I handle this sort of trade. I didn't personally get to take this, but let's take a look here. If you can see, this is the 15-minute time frame. I was looking at the hourly time frame when I identified this level, but you can get a much better picture here on the 15-minute. If you look back here, we have what, 1, 2, 3, 4 touches, which confirms resistance. It's also a nice area of confluence. You can see how these bodies are closing on them, opening and closing. And that's what I look for when identifying my key levels I'm looking to reject or take puts at. There's some rules I keep with this though. It's just not as simple as identifying these. First off, you need to have room. You don't want to be right at it when the market opens, okay? You want to give yourself room to move up to a reject, and you want to look for areas of confluence and key resistances. When I'm creating a level pre-market, I go to the areas that I'm gonna use for that day. I'm not charting out 100 points up or 100 points below. I chart out what's relevant, and that's what I use. Now, when we're looking for a reject, a couple things I do not want to see. I do not want to see a huge increase in buying volume at that reject area. Another thing I like to point out, if we're in a clear uptrend, if I take a reject, it's a scalp. It's not something I'm going to hold long. 10% profit on a scalp, I would consider that a decent scalp, okay? If that gives you, kind of what I'm looking for in that sort of trade. Now, if I take a reject on a downtrend, that's the ideal setup. That could be a longer day trade, if that makes sense. So when I say volume, what I'm looking for is very simple. Like right here, I do not want to see a huge increase. You can see we had a nice decrease when we come up and hit this reject area. Had I still been trading at this time and not dealing with a few things, I would have taken this trade. It's a nice setup. 270.88 was my level. 270.9 push up to 271.3. My stop loss would have been around 271.6 on this trade. For this example, I want to look at SPY here. I want to talk about a bounce that I would not take. I feel that it helps sometimes to talk about something I would not take personally. Now let's take a look at this setup. So I want to point out how close we come to this 380 bounce area that I had on SPY right here. So this technically would be the bounce, okay? This would be your trade here. If you was going to take this for a bounce, this candle would have been your entry. Bounces are not exact numbers, so they're bounce areas. So a lot of times I'll enter, 30, 40 cents early. That's okay. If you want to be more patient and wait on the exact level, you can, but just accept that you may miss out on the trade and do not chase. Now we come back pushed up. That would have been a nice scalp. Then we come back down and hit this area. Now I want to talk about this. People are like, why would you not take this level? First off, one thing I see that I do not like, we got an increase in selling volume here, right? It's something you don't want to see. Another thing, we've almost touched it already that day. Definitely a sign like, okay, I'm not taking this trade. Now, if I was going to take this bounce, you would want to see a nice decrease. Instead of an increase, I want to see a decrease in selling volume. And ideally, we haven't been near that area during the day. And I'll say this, if we're in a clear downtrend, if I take a bounce, unless it just does something crazy immediately, typically I scalp. Now, there have been instances where we've hit we've had big pullbacks to, let's take a look today on SPX. You can't see the volume on SPX, but we pulled down to this 3,800 area, which is a whole psychological number. A big number on ES. We hit that and we bounced more than I thought we would. We bounced, way up to over a 30-point move. Sometimes when you get near them big whole psychological numbers like we see here, you can get more continuations in downtrend, if that makes sense. I will take bounces or rejects from whole psychological numbers. And what I really like is when I have multiple charts confirming a possible reject or a possible bounce. For instance, if I'm watching SPX, SPY, and ES and they all line up, that's an ideal trade for me. I don't want to get you all too confused in this video, so I'm going to keep this one simple. I think I'm going to go more in depth on my trades from here on out, especially when I'm trading futures, SPX, SPY. because that's mostly what I trade now. I guess you all have noticed I've stayed away from most stock trades. I've been focusing all my energy on futures pre-market. Been focusing on trading SPY options, and I don't mind to trade SPX options if I see that right setup. One thing I've noticed since I kind of narrowed down my range on what I trade, I have more focus. And I ended my day pre-market. Well, I took one trade during market, but I ended my futures trading account today a little over $4,000 on the day. I did take a loss on SPY. Honestly, I had a few things going on. I shouldn't have been trading options. I already had a nice day trading futures. I was just trying to hit a nice trade with Team Bull, but it happens. But that's all I have for this video. If you have any questions, always feel free to reach out to me. If you're not in Team Bull, I would love to have you come join. As always, I appreciate you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.